Hello and welcome into another episode of UFL Tonight. I am your host, James Baker. Now, we haven't had a traditional show in a couple weeks. My apologies. Life has been crazy, but one thing's for sure though, the UFL has not stopped. Okay, we're in the penultimate week of the UFL regular season. And before we talk about week 9, we have to go over week 8. And week 8 got started off in a place we've never seen a professional football game, a U.S. military base. Yes, the Dallas Renegades took on the Orlando Storm at Fort Hood there in Killeen, Texas. And man, did this community get a show. I actually got to go down for this game. I traveled down Friday morning and I didn't get back in until 2 a.m. Saturday. But it was a fantastic event. The league did an incredible job partnering with the base and everybody there. It was a very communal effort. We had the sky cam held up by 4 cranes on each corner of the field. We had Fox camera crews on lifts, and they had a whole little festival out front for all the military families and children there on base. They had bounce houses, tanks you could climb on, food trucks. It was a whole event, and I love to see it. It was so much fun, and they got to honor a lot of amazing heroes throughout the entire game. You know, I'm over there on the sidelines just taking pictures and videos, and the guys behind me are all like geared up with assault rifles. A very crazy UFL sideline experience, but one I will definitely never forget. The game itself, lots and lots of action. I particularly want to focus on the second half. Now, Jack Plummer didn't realize he had the wheels that he did. He ran 71 yards to the house on us. And then next Renegades drive, we go downfield and Seth Green scores a touchdown. And I know what you're saying, like, okay, Seth Green scored a touchdown. He does that all the time. But he scored a touchdown with his dad, Colonel Green, who is in the U.S. Army in attendance. He got to talk to his son after that down there on the field. What a cool, unique moment that I don't think we've ever really seen in football. You know, we don't have teams travel to military bases, so military dads can watch their sons score touchdowns. Like, that's such a storybook moment that you don't really get outside of the UFL. That storybook moment for the Renegades, though, did not last long. We would end up losing defensive end Willie Taylor III, obviously huge pillar of our defense. Been with that team since their championship run in 2023. He's been placed on IR for the rest of the season. And Orlando's offense just didn't slow down. KJ Hamler got a carry, ran it in for the score. They were shooting off cannons after every single touchdown. This one scared the crap out of KJ Hamler so much that he dropped the ball on the sidelines. It's pretty fun to watch, but the Orlando Storm held on. They got the win 31-24 after an unfortunate interception that was really a bobble and drop by tight end Baylor Cupp. Renegades lose 5 straight. They're still alive, but Orlando gets to clinch the first playoff spot in the 2026 UFL, so they are officially in. Jack Plummer still on an MVP pace, 24 completions, 36 attempts, 238 yards. No passing touchdowns, but of course he had that 71-yard rushing touchdown. Also had another rushing touchdown, so 2 total touchdowns of the day. Austin Reed, 12 completions, 23 attempts for 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and 134 yards. The problem with Austin Reed is I feel like we pulled back on the leash a little bit too much. We're not letting him go downfield. You see 23 attempts for 134 yards. That is abysmal. And in week 7, Austin Reed 37 attempts for 166 yards. Like, we need to have him feel comfortable again moving the ball downfield because that's where him and Tyler Vaughn's absolutely shined. But Tyler Vaughn's been passed up by both Jaden Mickens and Elijah Badger while the Renegades just continue to freefall. But anyways, that game all wrapped up. I got back to Dallas around 2 in the morning and then got a little bit of sleep before the Louisville Kings took on the DC Defenders. They're in their home turf in Kentucky this time, but this one, a little bit of a weather delay. Thank God, got to get a little bit more rest. Sadly, the weather delay would be a little bit of a precursor to what's to come because this game was just completely cursed. Early in the game, even after throwing a deep touchdown to Ty Scott, Jordan Ta'amu went down. Now, obviously, very tough anytime any quarterback goes down in this league, but Jordan Ta'amu, MVP caliber player, of course, the reigning UFL championship starting quarterback. You know, DC has not had to really play without him. The only time since he joined the team in 2023 that he has not started a game is when they rested him and played Mike DeLillo. Like, he has never been out for an entire game due to injury. Well, Ta'amu has been placed on season-ending IR, and the backup quarterback they put in to replace him, at least for this game against Louisville, was Spencer Sanders, who did not fare the greatest against that Louisville Kings defense. Now, the defenders did end up scoring 30 points in this game, but I got to give a shout out to their running back committee. Valladay had 13 carries, 107 yards, and a touchdown. Abram Smith also got in for a nice little touchdown, showing some of that 2023 Offensive Player of the Year material right there. And then Deion Jackson, not the best showing from him, but a guy who's been lighting it up all year long, also got another touchdown. When your running backs can combine for 3 or more touchdowns, you're going to be in a good spot. Sadly, though, they just could not stop Louisville to save their life yet again, which is very weird for this DC defense. I don't know what it is, but Louisville Kings just seem to be their kryptonite. And it's not even because Chandler Rogers played all too great. He only went 11 to 20 for 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and 143 yards. But really, it's the special teams game, which is how DC lost. Tanner Brown had 4 field goals in this game, including 1 4-point field goal. So that's what? 3, 6, 9, 13 points just off his leg alone, not even counting any extra points. Then DC's first kickoff of the game, okay? First quarter, Louisville gets the ball, and Tyler Hudson takes it 92 yards to the house. So immediately, that Louisville special teams unit was just putting their foot down and saying that this is their game. Yeah, Kings win the back-to-back. They get the season sweep of the defending champs. They win 33-30. And this week, this Sunday, they play my Dallas Renegades. So quite frankly, I am terrified. Because of the weather delay, this game butted right up against the Houston Gamblers versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. In fact, that game had a kickoff while this one was ending. Big game in the city. Luis Perez's second start as a Battlehawk. And this was game 1 of a back-to-back series. These two teams are playing again this weekend in Houston. So this game is going to be very important for establishing that momentum. And while this one was a lot more back and forth than we expected, Hunter Dekkers, I truly believe if he was this Houston quarterback all year long, they would be a playoff team. He had some fantastic plays, including a deep touchdown to Lawrence Keys Jr., where he kind of scrambles out of the pocket and finds the open guy. And then talk about St. Louis and Luis Perez just coming in there. He had a couple of mistakes, yes, but he finds Tyler Neville for a great touchdown. Neville has been a baller all year long, and sadly, we also lose him to injury. So St. Louis lost their big body tight end who's a vertical receiving threat. They went out and they signed a tight end, and I gotta be honest, I think they found the one and only person who is an upgrade to what they had. The St. Louis Battlehawks have signed former Dallas Renegades tight end Sal Cannella. Yes, the Sal Cannella, all USFL, XFL receiving leader, all UFL tight end, was Luis Perez's #1 target there in Arlington, Dallas, whatever you want to call it. He is now linking up with him in St. Louis after Cannella spent an entire year with the Cleveland Browns, including seeing some game action, catching passes from Shedeur Sanders. So that's going to be electric. We may see it this weekend. We may see Cannella on the field. I have not seen the inactives list yet. Hey, their first week together may be a little rusty, but come week 10, come playoffs, if they start clicking, we saw Luis Perez and Sal Cannella win a championship, and it looks like they could do the same thing again. But back to this game, Houston was up 23-16, seconds running down the clock. The Battlehawks are within their own 10-yard line, and Perez is trying desperately just to snap the damn ball, and time runs out. Kevin Sumlin and the Gamblers are spared another day. They get the win 23-16 to still stay alive in the playoff race. St. Louis is still searching for a playoff berth. And then our final game of the week, another back-to-back that we're going to see this week. The Birmingham Stallions versus the Columbus Aviators. Now, I wanted to give a full recap of this game, man, but this has to be probably the worst game of football I have seen this year from the United Football League. Just being completely honest. The one exciting play was when Birmingham blocked a Columbus field goal and Stephen Gilmore took it all the way back for a touchdown, and the Birmingham Stallions got the win 14-3. But if that block never happened, let's say Columbus makes it, this game legitimately would have ended 6-7. So those are all the games this week. Let's go into our UFL Players of the Week. So offensively, it was announced that Jack Plummer, yes, he got that amazing win there in Fort Hood, including that 70-yard touchdown rush. He is the Offensive Player of the Week. Defensively, they're going with Tay Crowder. Tay Crowder, absolute badass menace there in the backfield. Well-deserved award for him. And in special teams, they went with Louisville Kings kicker Tanner Brown. Like I said, he had a 60-yard field goal plus 3 others. When you're scoring 4 field goals for your team and you're perfect on the day, you're going to get this award flat out. So well-deserved for him as well. And of course, every week on UFL Tonight, we have our UFL Tonight Power Rankings. Now, this week's Power Rankings were actually supposed to be presented by both myself and Pro Football Newsroom's James Larson. He actually came here, we recorded a whole segment, decided on all these rankings, and I forgot to record the audio. So that's been scrapped. But yes, we decided and finalized these rankings together. So starting at number 8, we have the Columbus Aviators. And James was being nice to him. You know, they're trying some new things up. Jalen McClendon had a couple mistakes last week. He has been benched in favor of Jalen Morton, the former Birmingham Stallions and Southwest Kansas Storm quarterback. But flat out, this defense is not good. Passing game has not been good. And the run game is only good when you're able to run the ball 30 plus times down the middle, which several teams have been able to stop right out the gate. And then they're just screwed because they have nothing else they can lean on. Then at number 7, this one was really rough, but cover your ears, Billy. We have to put the Dallas Renegades in at number 7. Look, 10-week season, 5-game losing streak. That's half the season on a losing streak. It's just bad. There's no other way I can put it around. I think we're a lot better than a lot of teams on this list, but the issue is we play up or down depending on who we're playing against. Like, we could put up 40 points against the best team and then 3 points against the worst team. It just, we seem to scale according to who we're playing against. And at number 6, they got the win, but if it was maybe 5 more seconds of game time, it could be a different story and they could be eliminated. The Houston Gamblers, okay? And James said it the best, and I wish we had the audio of it, but their issue is they just can't play a complete game, and Kevin Sumlin and complete game are just two things that have not gone together time and time again. So they still have hope. I think they're a little bit more hopeful than Dallas, especially after beating St. Louis last week, playing them again now at home. Maybe if they can get back-to-back wins, they can start launching themselves into a playoff position, but I just don't see it happening. Then at number 5, I am not high on this team, and I'm sure y'all think it's going to be crazy biased, but I have the Birmingham Stallions. Now, like I said, I think the Columbus Aviators are the worst team in the league, and y'all only put up 14 points. Like, y'all got Dorian Thompson-Robinson, one of the most mobile, athletic quarterbacks this league has ever seen. You have a quarterback at head coach with A.J. McCarron who won 3 national championships. Why is this offense struggling to score any and all points? Like, anytime I tune in a Birmingham Stallions game, it makes me just want to go crawl into bed and fall asleep. Like, the Birmingham Stallions should not be a boring football team. There's zero reason with this roster that they should not be putting up at least 20 points a game with the UFL rule sets as well, because starting field position is vastly greater than the NFL. 1 foot inbounds, like, everything promotes the offense. How are we not getting any sort of offense from them? At number 4, have the Louisville Kings. Now, I know they just beat DC back-to-back. They're looking really good right now. Just for some reason, I cannot find myself to fully trust Chandler Rogers. There have been several times where Chandler Rogers has looked good and looked great, but there's never been a single time where I think Chandler Rogers has looked like the best quarterback in this league, which is not something I could say for Jack Plummer or, Jordan Teamu. These guys have shown flashes where, like, they look like the MVP. The Kings, though, defense been playing well. I commend Chris Redmond for making the changes that he did. I think it was very ballsy trading away Bean, getting rid of your offensive line coach, but things have started to work out. I think they're on a great trajectory, and Chris Redmond's been doing a fantastic job. But I think it's been slow growth, which has been really sustainable for them. I don't want to shoot them up too far in the power rankings just yet, because I don't think they're the 1, 2, or 3 team right now. I think they're pretty solidly number 4. But hey, here in 2-3 weeks, I think they're going to be slowly creeping up. Okay, 3rd best team, 2nd best team, as Rodgers continues to just mesh with this group. At number 3, I really like the DC Defenders. They would have got the win undeniably last week at Jordantown, who started that entire game. And it's just rough. It is I think they are a fantastic team. Of course, won the championship last year. Have a lot of the same guys, same coaching staff. They know they can do it again, but now they have to do it without their quarterback. And what I like to say is Jordan Ta'amu may not be on the field, but he's certainly going to be on the sidelines there with the headset. And I think Jason Bean has all the physical tools needed to win a championship in this league. I think if they can combine Jordan's leadership with his knowledge of the system and Jason Bean's physical abilities, they're going to be just okay, which is why I'm keeping them there at number 3. I don't think they're fully dropping off the playoff spot like I've seen a couple people say. Yeah, they're definitely not 1 or 2 anymore after that injury. And at number 2, I only put them at number 2 because they lost, man, but a few seconds would have been the difference. I have the St. Louis Battlehawks, and my number 1 concern here is that AJ Smith, if you can't beat him, join him. So he lost in 2023. His Houston Roughnecks got beat in the first round to the Arlington Renegades, which were manned by Luis Perez, and his number 1 target there was Sal Cannella. We now have Luis Perez and Sal Cannella there in St. Louis, on top of Hakeem Butler, on top of Ja'Cour Pearson, on top of Jarvin Howard. Like, this offense, man, if they figure things out, could be an offense that can put up like 40, 50 points a game. It's absolutely ridiculous just how stacked they are. If you go back to XFL 2023, like they have an all-star team, flat out. They have an all-star offense. And at number 1, have to put the only team to clinch. They're playing tonight too, the Orlando Storm. I gotta watch them. Anthony Beck, like, I just gotta give you your flowers, man. You're a fantastic head coach. Every single one of these players are bought into that program, and things are just going well. So that was all of our power rankings. Now, let me make sure I got everybody cleared away on all the top news around the UFL this week. So we already covered Fort Hood. Yes, the UFL has the first ever professional football game played on a military base, where the Orlando Storm beat my Dallas Renegades. So my Renegades get to say they're the only team who have ever lost a game on a military base. Then Jordan Ta'amu, of course, injured, out for the year. Not sure what they're going to do. Trade deadline has passed, so if they were to get another quarterback, it would have to be via a signing. A signing just like St. Louis did, of course, signing tight end Sal Cannella after he was recently released by the Cleveland Browns. Then, of course, like I said, other quarterback news, the Columbus Aviators benching Jalen McClendon in favor of Jalen Morton. And then a couple other QBs, these ones retired. We have Chris Redmond and Jim Kelly. They're both getting their own bobbleheads for the Louisville and Houston final home game, because this week is the final home games for Louisville, Houston, and Orlando. So last chance to go to a UFL game in one of those 3 markets this year. Get your tickets, theufl.com/tickets. And well, I say regular season because, like I said, Orlando already clinched playoffs, and then they're still playing for a home playoff spot. So, hey, maybe Orlando, you get a saving grace, you get an extra home game there, but if you want to play things safe, I recommend going ahead and getting your tickets now for this game against DC tonight. And talk about getting tickets and talking about playoffs. You want to get your tickets literally right now, probably hours ago, for the UFL Championship, the United Bowl on June 13th in DC, because we have announced our halftime performer. And this is not some random musician that no one's ever heard of or somebody who's affiliated with the league. No, this is a major platinum level recording artist, even bigger than, dare I say it, DJ Khaled. We got 50 Cent. Yes, we have 50 Cent headlining the halftime performance of the United Bowl on June 13th. It is going to be a hell of a time. I swear he better walk out to Mini Men. That's going to be one of the hardest halftime entrances of all time. I can't wait. I can't wait. Now, another segment we did with James Larson that we had to scrap completely this week was some UFL trivia. Now, I want to also put this trivia onto you guys as we kind of wrap up the season. We have a couple different segments. We have UFL history, we have general UFL questions, and then finally, we have some questions about tonight's game between the DC Defenders and the Orlando Storm. So starting off, do you know who scored the first points in UFL history? I'll give you like 3 seconds. All right, that first game, remember, it was champion versus champion. The USFL champion Birmingham Stallions versus the XFL champion Arlington Renegades. And the Renegades kicker Taylor Russolino kicked the first ever points in UFL history. Now, the first ever touchdown in UFL history, do you know who that was to? That was Renegades wide receiver Isaiah Winstead. Now he is with the Louisville Kings. Deep pass from Luis Perez, one of the best moments in Renegades history. And Perez is known for making history. He had the first touchdown pass in the revitalized USFL, the first one in the XFL 2023, and also the first in the UFL. So the name the Spring King really reigns true when you go and look back on it. Then some general UFL questions. What city will be the home of the UFL's newest team, and what is the name of their stadium? That's going to be in Oklahoma City. They're playing at the Maps 4 multipurpose stadium that is set to open in January of 2028. And finally, some questions about tonight's game. So, who is the only team to clinch the UFL playoffs so far? Yep, that is right. The Orlando Storm, only team to clinch playoffs so far. Do you guys know what happened the last time the DC Defenders played a spring football team in Orlando? Yep, midway through the 2023 Orlando Guardians season, the DC Defenders came into town and they thought that they had an easy win in their hands. But the Guardians got their first win of the season. Quentin Normandy went nuts. They won 36-33, completely just stunned them in one of the biggest upsets in spring football history. And then Orlando Storm quarterback Matt Corral was supposed to be the future of this UFL team before they were folded last year. Which team was this? And if you guessed Michigan Panthers, you are correct. Matt Corral was a Michigan Panther for all of 4 hours until they were folded. Wonder what life could be like if we still had the Panthers in 2026 with Matt Corral at the helm. And finally, outside of when they rested starters, when was the last time the DC Defenders started a quarterback not named Jordan Te'amu? This one goes back quite a while. Now, of course, they rested him before. They played Mike DeLillo, but the only time Te'amu was injured or not on the team and they started another quarterback goes all the way back to 2020 in Week 5 when they played the St. Louis Battlehawks. The quarterback for the Battlehawks, Jordan Te'amu. So the last time they did not play a game with Jordan Te'amu, they played against Jordan Te'amu, and that was 6 years ago. Now stay tuned after the break as we have our UFL Tonight Hot Topic.
Who said I can't wear my Converse with my dress? Well, baby, that's just me.
Welcome into Hot Topic on UFL Tonight, where you give us your hot takes and we react. A little bit of a short week this week with the post. My apologies, guys, but we have a couple of hot takes here. First off, my boy Chris Tisdale says a QB should not win MVP this year. I'm very curious what made you say this now, Chris. Anything could have happened with a certain quarterback, with a certain team, which could make you think the MVP does not belong to a quarterback anymore? Would you also say that this certain quarterback was robbed of said MVP award last year? But no, I agree. I think if they're going to give an MVP to a quarterback, it's going to be Jack Plummer. I think Jack Plummer is a very weak MVP. Maybe Cam Gill. I want to see a defensive MVP because there have been some defensive players balling out in the league this year. So I hope we can show some flowers to that side of the ball. Next up, we have the UFL Championship is the Battlehawks to lose, and they will lose it. Now, I'm assuming this means you think they will make the championship and then lose the championship, which I agree. I think the Battlehawks have probably the best chance of actually making the championship. Getting Luis Perez, Sal Cannella, these guys that are fresh, haven't been playing all year long. Like, hopefully they can bounce back this week against Houston, but I don't know. I think the curse has been lifted since they moved the championship game out, and I think the Battlehawks can finally win one. And I just know the league would go nuts. Like, they finally moved the game out of St. Louis and then watch St. Louis make it. Watch them switch it and then give them St. Louis a championship again next year, and then St. Louis goes like 1-9. Maybe that's what it takes. Take the championship game out of St. Louis and you give St. Louis a championship. But anyways, that is all of our hot takes here on this week's Hot Topic. Like I said, make sure to follow us at UFL Tonight on X. Next up, let's look at these Week 9 games and start getting a little preview together and look at our best bets. So So Orlando opens up as a 2.5 favorite over DC. Of course, it's that final Orlando home game. The DC Defenders without Jordan Teamu. It's going to be between Spencer Sanders and Jason Bean at QB1. And DC, they clinch with either a win or a Birmingham loss. Birmingham playing against Columbus. So I'm expecting them to play hard to try to clinch, get that weight off their shoulders. But quite frankly, after losing back-to-back to Louisville, Orlando is a much better team in a much better position right now. I like the Orlando Storm in this game. I don't know about -2.5. I think it could be a very close game down to the wire, but I'm just saying flat out money line, I like Orlando. And then Birmingham Columbus. I wrote literally one sentence on this game, and it's how can this game not suck this time? That's literally all we need. I think Birmingham is going to come out with another win here, but I think it's going to be another ugly win. Then on Sunday, the first game, we have Kings versus Renegades. This is really an Austin Reed revenge game. Of course, last time he played the Kings, multiple interceptions, multiple pick sixes. Just was not his day as the Kings put up 47 points. But we got to turn that around. Maybe it would do him some good to see some success against this team that he struggled so much against. But meanwhile, the Kings are surging. They just beat the defending champions in back-to-back weeks. And Dallas has been suffering some defensive injuries. So I don't know here. I think the Kings are favored by 1.5. The highest total of the week of an over-under at 46.5. I gotta say, guys, my Renegades need a win. They need one desperately. I think it has to be do or die time. I'm taking the Renegades money line this game. That's going to be my dog of the week, my best bet of the week. Because, man, we just need something for the love of God. And finally, we have St. Louis versus Houston. I know Houston got the win last week, but I don't think they have what it takes to beat this team back-to-back, especially if Luis Perez gets his security blanket with Sal Cannella out there. Give me the Battlehawks -3 all day long there in Houston. That over-under 42.5. I'll stay away from it. I'll stay away from it right now. I think that one could go very much over if the Battlehawks start clicking offensively. We've seen Hunter Deckers and the Gamblers also start to put up some points. So that 42.5, I'll leave that as kind of like a fourth one. I would take the over personally. I'm not throwing it on my slip. I'm taking Orlando -2.5, Renegades money line, and St. Louis -3. All right, so those are some of our best bets of the week. But before we let you guys go, we got to do this every single week. We have our Friday top 5. Starting up at number 5, Hunter Deckers, 3 minutes left in the second, rolling out of the pocket to his left on the run. The lefty letting it loose, finds Lawrence Keys the third for the easy touchdown. What a day. At number 4, we have our special teams player of the week, Louisville Kings kicker Tanner Brown, 60-yard 4-point field goal. It is good. He's officially the second kicker in the UFL to hit a 4-pointer. Coming in at number 3 from Fort Hood, the man, the myth, the legend with the wheels, Jack Plummer running it all the way. This is a 3rd and 1 play for 71 yards all the way to the house. Man, nobody could stop him. Gets a nice little slide there, and cannons going off there in Fort Hood. And at number 2, DC's first kickoff of the game, Tyler Hudson fields it from the 8-yard line, taking it all the way through that DC return coverage, and there's just no one stopping him. The 30, the 20, the 10, touchdown, Kings get on the board, would eventually go on to win. Then at number 1 for Dalmas, a 55-yard kick. It is blocked by the Stallions, and Stephen Gilmore picks it up, taking it all the way back to the house. This would go on to kind of seal the game for them as the Stallions win 14-3. All right, we've recapped week 8, gone over the top stories, talked a little bit about week 9, showed our top plays from last week, but it is time for my game prediction for the game here in about half an hour, the DC Defenders versus the Orlando Storm. Now, I really want DC to clinch a playoff spot, especially with them hosting the United Bowl, but if they're going to be starting Spencer Sanders, which I feel like they're going to, especially with how he played the entire game last week when Teamu got hurt, I think they're going to struggle. He only completed about 45% of his passes. I have not seen anything from him which says that he is the caliber of a UFL starting quarterback, but I could be proven wrong, okay? DC is an incredibly talented and also cohesive team. That culture there is very real. I don't know, give me Orlando, let's say 26, DC, I think, struggles offensively. They do have a good run game. 26-21. Orlando wins. They cover the spread. They end up winning by 5, and it takes DC till week 10 to finally clinch the playoff spot. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you guys tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said, been a little bit of a struggle getting out the past couple episodes, so appreciate you all sticking with me. Make sure you tap in. Last couple weeks of UFL action, make sure you tune in either on Fox, ESPN, or they're in person at the game where you can get your tickets at theufl.com/tickets. But until next week, signing off from UFL Tonight Studios, we will be live next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Pro Football Newsroom's YouTube channel. Thank you.